The rise and fall of history's most powerful bankers. Welcome back. At their peak, they controlled more money than some countries' GDPs. They advised kings and financed wars. One of them even said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." That wasn't just bravado. It was a quiet truth behind the Rothschild family, the most powerful banking dynasty the world has ever seen. But the story of how they built a financial empire that stretched across Europe, becoming richer than royalty, yet almost invisible in the public eye, is one of strategy, secrecy, family loyalty, and yes, controversy that persists even now. It begins not in a palace or a boardroom, but in the cramped, dirty Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt in the mid-1700s. Meyer Amschel Rothschild was born in 1744 in a house on Judengasse, literally, Jew Alley. His father dealt in coins and modest banking, but life for Jews in the Holy Roman Empire was grim. They were banned from most professions, subject to discriminatory taxes, and forbidden from owning land. So Meyer did what many couldn't. He found opportunity where no one else was looking. He became obsessed with rare coins, developing such expertise that even local princes came to him for advice. He knew that money talked louder than prejudice, and he used that to open doors. By 1769, Meyer had landed a role as court Jew to Prince Wilhelm IX of Hesse-Kassel, an official banker and financial agent to one of the richest men in Europe. And that's when things started to scale. What made Meyer unique wasn't just his skill in finance, but his long-term vision. He had 5 sons, Amschel, Salomon, Nathan, Karl, and James, and rather than keep them all close, he scattered them across the European capitals, Frankfurt, Vienna, London, Naples, and Paris. Each son became the face of a branch of the Rothschild banking network. They spoke different languages, dressed like locals, and blended in, but they were always communicating behind the scenes. Imagine this. In an era when mail took weeks and war could destroy trade routes overnight, the Rothschilds used coded letters, private couriers, and even carrier pigeons to move information faster than anyone else. Information wasn't just power, it was profit. Nathan Meyer Rothschild, Meyer's 3rd son, took charge of the London branch, and he would go on to become the most powerful banker in the world. The moment that cemented his legacy came in 1815, at the Battle of Waterloo. Now, this part of the story is steeped in both fact and folklore, but here's what we know. Nathan had invested heavily in British government bonds. If Napoleon won the battle, the British economy would crash. If the Duke of Wellington won, bond prices would soar. The Rothschilds had agents across Europe, and allegedly, Nathan received word of Napoleon's defeat a full day before the official British messenger arrived. What he did next is the stuff of legend. He went to the London Stock Exchange and began selling his bonds. Other traders assumed the British had lost. They started selling too, and prices plummeted. Then, when the bonds were at their lowest, Rothschild agents quietly bought them all up. When the news of Wellington's victory broke, prices surged, and Nathan made what was, at the time, the greatest one-day profit in financial history. Was it market manipulation? Probably. Was it illegal? In 1815, there was no securities law. But the move showed exactly how the Rothschilds operated, with speed, precision, and almost supernatural timing. By the mid-1800s, the Rothschilds weren't just bankers, they were kingmakers. They financed railroads in France, mining operations in Spain, and the Suez Canal in Egypt. When governments needed loans, they didn't go to their own treasuries. They went to the Rothschilds. In 1875, when the British government needed to buy shares in the Suez Canal Company, they didn't use Parliament. They used Lionel de Rothschild, Nathan's son, to make the purchase overnight. That's how powerful they were, able to shift the direction of empires with a single transaction. But power like that doesn't come without enemies or shadows. Anti-Semitic conspiracy theories dogged the family almost from the beginning. Because they were secretive, wealthy, and Jewish, they became easy targets. Cartoons in 19th century newspapers depicted them as octopus-like monsters, wrapping their tentacles around the globe. Every economic downturn became a Rothschild plot. Even today, their name pops up in the dark corners of the internet, accused of everything from rigging markets to orchestrating wars. But the real truth is more complicated, and frankly, more impressive. Internally, the family was obsessively focused on discipline. Marriages were often arranged within the family to preserve wealth. Business decisions were made as a unit. If one brother made a risky move, the others would compensate. They innovated banking itself, creating a cross-border network of trust and liquidity in a world without central banks. Yet by the early 20th century, the Rothschilds' influence began to wane. 2 world wars destroyed the old aristocratic order. Governments began nationalizing central banks. The U.S. Federal Reserve was established in 1913, weakening private bankers' control of monetary systems. And while the Rothschild was still enormously wealthy, they were no longer the puppet masters of Europe. One particularly poignant moment came in 1938, when the Nazis annexed Austria. The Rothschild family's Vienna branch was seized. Baron Louis Rothschild was arrested and only released after a massive ransom was paid. The family's art collections were looted. Their name, once a symbol of unrivaled power, could no longer protect them from racial hatred. After World War II, the Rothschilds shifted. They diversified, moved into wine, real estate, and other industries. They were still rich. By 2023 estimates, the various branches still control billions, but the mythic status had faded. And yet, their legacy is everywhere. They pioneered modern banking systems, the bond market, global finance, the idea of an international investment bank, the model of using fast information, insider networks, and cross-border family alliances. Tech companies and hedge funds still emulate that. There's also something deeply human about the Rothschild saga. Meyer Amschel started with almost nothing, driven by exclusion and discrimination. His empire was built on a mix of brilliance, caution, and adaptability. But over time, even the most disciplined dynasty loses control. Marriages drift outside the bloodline. Younger generations pursue art, philanthropy, or private life. Some critics say the Rothschilds were parasites, making money from wars and playing both sides. Others see them as financial geniuses who brought stability in times of chaos. Personally, I think it's both. They were opportunists, yes, but in a world of slow-moving monarchies and volatile markets, they created something that worked. They were the internet of their time, a decentralized network of nodes, all moving information and capital faster than anyone else. And that quote about controlling the money and not caring about laws? It's attributed to Meyer Rothschild, but there's no record he actually said it. Still, the idea remains. Who really holds power, the one who governs, or the one who finances a government? In the end, the Rothschilds didn't fall so much as dissolve. Like old dynasties, they faded into history not with a crash, but with a slow, deliberate exhale. You won't see their name on skyscrapers or billboards, but their fingerprints are all over the financial world we live in. If you enjoyed this story, leave a money bag in the comments.